Is pain a good thing or a bad thing? It has a protective function. Okay, that's for sure. All right. It usually indicates tissue damage, and it leads to an action. So if there is a painful stimulus, you will move away from that, right? It also brings about behavioral changes. You will avoid that particular behavior in future that caused you pain. It is very important in young children when they are learning. But long-standing or chronic pain can be annoying, and management of chronic pain is not easy. Now, what is pain? Definition has been a challenge for centuries. The Greeks conceived pain as an emotion, and in the late 19th century, the pain was viewed as just a sensation. But the definition we have now is a combination of both. Okay, so pain is described as a subjective experience with distinct discriminative and emotional components. So it is not a simple sensation. Okay, so because of that, management of pain also is not that simple. Functions of pain, we just discussed earlier, protects us by triggering a reflexive withdrawal from something that is causing damage, warns us when injury is about to occur. It can also warn us before the injury is about to occur. So if you're running and you have this pain in your muscle, it is actually trying to prevent damage to the muscle. Okay, forces us to immobilize or protect injured areas. When you have pain somewhere, you don't move that part, you immobilize it. So further damage doesn't happen there. It also lets us know when we need to seek medical help. Very true for dental pain, right? We only go to dentist when there is pain, right? We never go to dentist otherwise. Yeah. Okay. So pain is very important. Yeah. Okay. Teaches us what behavior to avoid in future. All right. Some terminologies. Pain could be either acute or chronic, right? By definition, it's 3 months, the cutoff. If pain is less than 3 months duration, we will say acute. If it is more than 3 months, we'll classify it as chronic. Okay. Chronic pain affects about 20% of population, which is pretty high number. Deferred pain is a term which is used to the type of pain which is felt in a different area than the stimulus, actually, where the damage is. So damage is somewhere else, but you feel pain somewhere else. This is called deferred pain. Hyperalgesia is when you have increased pain in response to a stimulus which is not that painful. So your sensation is much higher than the actual stimulus. Allodynia is when a stimulus which normally shouldn't give you pain, but gives you pain. That is allodynia. The conscious perception of tissue damage or pain occurs in the cerebral cortex. Pain has also been classified into 2 major types, depending upon which neurons carry the pain. So it's fast pain versus slow pain. Fast pain is felt within 0.1 second of the stimulus being applied, and slow pain is more than 1 second after the stimulus is applied. Okay. So fast pain is also described by different names. This is what the patients will tell you. Okay. Acute pain, sharp pain, electric pain, pricking pain. Slow pain goes by other names: slow burning pain, aching pain, throbbing pain, okay, nauseous pain, and sometimes patients will say chronic pain as well. Okay. Now, this type of pain usually is associated with a stimulus that doesn't cause permanent damage to the tissue. But the slow pain is when there is tissue destruction. Then you have this type of pain. Pain receptors, there are no special receptors for pain. Free nerve endings in the skin, under the skin, act like pain receptors. They're also called nociceptors. Okay, nociception is another term for pain. Now, these receptors do not adapt. Okay, that's, I don't know, good thing or bad thing. Good thing in a way that it keeps telling you there is damage. Bad thing that it keeps telling you it doesn't go away. All right, so they don't adapt. The free nerve endings, They don't adapt. But there is some adaptation that occurs, but that occurs at higher levels. Adaptation occurs at the receptor levels. There's also adaptation occurring at the higher levels, and we will talk about that. Okay, how do our body gets used to pain and how it suppresses pain actually. Now, the fast, sharp pain goes by bigger neurons, A gamma fibers. The slow chronic pain signals go by C fibers, and ultimately they will all end up in brainstem and the higher centers. The fast, sharp pain pathway warns one of an acute injury. It has good localization, and this is the probable neurotransmitter which is released in this pathway, glutamate. The other one, the slow chronic one, causes the slow suffering type of pain. This one has poor localization, so a patient can't tell exactly where the pain is. And probable neurotransmitter is substance P. Now for this one, the slow chronic pain pathway, studies have shown that if you stimulate the reticular areas of the brainstem and the thalamus, where actually these neurons end up, okay, it has a strong arousal effect on nervous activity throughout the entire brain. And this is the reason why those people who have this type of pain, they can't sleep, because it stimulates the reticular activating system in the brain. Now, this is just a schematic diagram to show you peripheral tissue. The neuron takes the signal, first neuron, synapses in the spinal cord. Second neuron then moves upwards, goes into thalamus, synapses there, and the third neuron goes all the way up to the cerebral cortex. So thalamus is regarded as the relay center for pain. So most neurons bringing pain signals from the spinal cord will synapse in thymus, and third order neurons will arise and they will go to the higher centers in the cerebral cortex. This figure now shows you in a more elaborate way the same thing. Neurons bringing signals from different parts of the body, they enter spinal cord, okay, synapse with the second neuron. If it is spinothalamic tract, which is in this case is, the neuron cross over to the other side immediately, then they go up, they synapse, the third order neurons will go to the higher centers, somatosensory cortex, okay? All right, now this is just to show you the free nerve endings, how they detect pain, or what are the chemical signals that cause pain. If there is tissue damage, it will cause release of many chemical mediators in that environment. For example, mast cells will release histamine. You have release of prostaglandins, potassium, serotonin, bradykinin. All these will stimulate this free nerve ending, and it will then generate an action potential, which will travel to the spinal cord and all the way up. Now, I told you the pain receptors, which are free nerve endings, they do not adapt. But we do have a built-in analgesia system in our central nervous system. How does it work? So the degree to which a person reacts to pain varies tremendously. Some people react to very mild pain. Some people have higher threshold, right? They don't respond to very mild pain. The brain can suppress the input of pain signals. And this system works both at the brain level and at the spinal cord level, so multiple levels. Let me show you how it works at the spinal cord level, okay? Now this is a pain receptor, the red one, bringing signal to the spinal cord. It synapses with the second order neuron, which crosses over to the other side, and it goes to thalamus. From thalamus to somatosensory cortex, right? We remember that, okay. Now, there are some neurons which are arising from the brain. They are descending down, and they are communicating with this synapse, okay? and they suppress the signal transmission at this synapse. So this is the built-in analgesia system. Let me show you this in a schematic diagram now. So pain receptors, this is the neuron, signal comes, what will happen? Neurotransmitter is released, it binds to receptors, action potential generated, and it goes all the way up, and you have pain perception. Now from the brain, you have another area here, which neurons come all the way down to spinal cord, and they bind to this neuron, the presynaptic neuron over here. And they actually cause suppression of release of this neurotransmitter. So a signal cannot be transmitted. So you block the signal there. Okay? This is the built-in analgesia system. Okay? And there are many neurotransmitters which are involved, the chemicals which are secreted here. Have you heard endorphins? You say you feel good, endorphins are released, right? Enkephalin. So there are many chemicals which are actually, if I go back to that picture again, what is this? Opiate. Have you heard this term before? Opiate? What are opiates? Opioid? Morphine? So this is our brain's built-in morphine system. All right, so we have chemicals which are similar to morphine, and we have these receptors where these chemicals will bind. So enkephalins, serotonin, the enkephalin is believed to cause both presynaptic and postsynaptic inhibition of incoming pain fibers via the synapse and the dorsal horn, as I showed you in the previous slide. Brain's opiate system was discovered almost 40 years ago, right? And when they did experiments on animals, they found out that if you give morphine injection, it causes extreme analgesia because it will bind to its receptors, the opiate receptors. The nervous system has many opiate-like substances. I told you endorphins, enkephalin, dynorphin, there are many. Okay. Fine details of this opiate system are still not fully understood. And those people who take exogenous, opiate substances, the problem with those substances is you mess up the internal system. So drug addicts, they have many problems when they take these drugs. One of the problems is they mess up the internal opiate system. All right, so another discovery which was made around the control of pain, that if you're having pain, say the pain is somewhere on your hand, scratch around the area and the pain sensation becomes a bit less, right? Have you noticed that? So this may be the basis of acupuncture. All right, so you're modulating the signal actually which is going through.